Okay, the way we're going to do this fire chat is actually through certain topic or question discussion. But before that, we'll start to get to know our panelists. So I'll leave it to them to describe what they do and so on, and maybe something that they do beyond IT. Your hobby, what do you do other than IT?
So allow me to introduce myself. I'm Kavindran. So I'm from SD Guthrie. I'm the senior digital manager actually in SD Guthrie, leading the digital transformation in the downstream business. So that's pretty much about myself. My background is obviously I'm from IT, no doubts. But whatever I'm doing right now is less of IT than what I thought I would do back then. So that's really pretty much about myself. And then something that I don't do about IT is I go hiking, do stuff that is not. I know some IT folks have hobby, which is coding, doing things IT related even as a hobby. That's definitely not myself. So I just try to just disconnect from work, do something totally different than what typical IT folks are doing.
So good morning everyone. Thank you for this opportunity at the discussion. My name is Randy Roy Sian. I think you guys got a bit confused when I mentioned my name. I'm actually from Cochin, Sarawak. Okay, that makes sense, right? So I'm Iban Chinese Bidayu, so I'm not a Malay. So I have been working for the past 23 years. I'm quite fortunate enough to work in IT, line, telco, aviation, postal and courier, and now in financial services. So now with Agrobank, I'm together with my colleagues here. We're from Digital Strategy Department. We are now in the process of trying to transform Agrobank from traditional agriculture digital financial institution or bank to become a mega agriculture fintech player. It's a tall calling. So we're putting ourselves on the hot soup, right? So outside of work, I like to play golf, and I also like to bring my wife and family out makan-makan. So I like to eat. That's why you can see that I have tummy. So that's basically.
Okay, good. So now we know about both IT and the non-IT side from our panelists. So maybe to start the ball rolling, I'll just address to Kavin. How do you make sure that all these transformation initiatives actually stays aligned with the strategy and not looking at that as a silo project?
So I think thanks for the question, right? So just to give a context, SD Guthrie is a company that hires almost about 83,000 people. It's a plantation company, in case those who are not aware, right? And if you look at it, we are 200 years old. So transformation for us is given. It's given, not like banking where the entire industry is dependent on digitalization. If you look at plantation as a whole, plantation is the lowest adopted. It adopts technology at the lowest compared to banking industry. So that's how we compare ourselves. So transformation for us have started in 2019, and now we are in 2025. It's almost 6 years into transformation. And when we started transformation for us was a digital transformation. So whatever Hassan told us earlier really connected with me. We started it off as a digital transformation. What we have realized is if we studied as a digital transformation from a technology lens, then you're bound to not get right. That's what we have learned along this. Only when we realized, and we have adopted, we spoke about framework, and he was right to say 70% of the transformation here. The framework that we used was people, process, technology. Simple framework, don't go for anything, sorry. We started off from the technology lens. Every business thought, hey, we're going to do digital transformation, digital department will run the transformation. That was the single biggest mistake. So transformation, as from a digital perspective, it's not a vertical transformation, it's horizontal. Every single department needs to have their own transformation. So, and it's important that this transformation is overlaid to your digital, from a business strategy perspective. It should be always related to your business strategy. Back then we used to do business strategy every 5 years. Now, to be honest with you, in 5 years, so many things change. In fact, it came down to 3 years, but we realized every single year the business strategy is also changing. So how about the digital strategy that we overlay on top of it? So we need to continuously look back what we have planned last year and keep altering our plans, as Hassan rightfully mentioned. Just to align back to the strategy that we have agreed as a business. So if your business strategy is not clear, then your digital strategy is going to be a mess. Because ultimately you need to serve your business outcome. That's the most important. So for me, the leadership alignment, having your strategy, your digital strategy aligned to your business strategy, and keep doing checks to make sure that it is always aligned, moving in line. And for us as an organization, the biggest pillar that we overlooked was the people pillar. Because it's a 200-year-old company. Our biggest challenge wasn't technology. I think we have one of the best technology stacks around. Everything we can talk about, data lake, but it's pointless. So, for me, I believe that now we are looking more at the people side. We even have this thing called digital academy to run academy. So, for me, I think that's the most challenging part when it comes to transformation, and not look at it from a technology perspective.
I think I can add to what Kevin mentioned earlier, and this is what we encountered 2 years ago, right? So previously, digital transformation was purely thrown to IT. But as you know, IT, they are busy with their new stuff, making the lights always on. So if you ask them, can you start looking at where are we going to be the next 5 years time? They said, no, I already have a lot of things to do. Can you talk to the consultant, right? But again, consultants are there to basically, and I have to apologize with maybe if there's any consultants in the house, they basically want to charge more man hours. Exactly. Because I was one of those people before. So let's stop there. And this is where and we are quite fortunate enough because we had a board change, right? And the new board members came in 2 years ago. And they listened to all the feedback from the ground level until the C levels, and then it's decided, okay, now we need to have a digital strategy department to do all this, foresighting, evaluating, incubating new capabilities, and the ones who are always do all these imaginary scenarios, right, worst case scenarios and whatnot. And in AgroBank, there are 4 digital or IT capabilities. It's going to be a bit confusing, so let me just share a bit. So at one angle, you've got the IT, which is basically BAU, right? Then we have digital business services. These are the business team, because if you have new business revenue generating initiatives, you need the business guys to be on board, right? So they are looking at ways on how to make money, even from data, from APIs, which we'll cover a bit later on. Then we have digital banking department. These are the guys who are taking care of our existing channels, our mobile banking app, right? Our internet banking, our QRs and whatnot, and our ATMs. Then we are the youngest one in the group, right? So digital strategy is basically digital strategy, and we are at strategy division, not at IT, right? And that is our main task, because we used to think that nobody will go into agriculture sector because banks, right, is a very high risk, and nobody wants to go in. And now we see digital banks are slowly creeping into our territory. You guys know that now GX Bank can issue loan for up to 150,000 ringgit in less than a few hours time. SME loan, right? So if you ask us where are all these SMEs and micro SMEs are, rural areas. What's their main economic activities? Agriculture, right? So using that understanding, we start to scale our internal stakeholders, and that is where then the ball start to roll, and we are executing some of the exciting projects that the bank have ever seen.
Okay, good. Okay, interesting, AgroBank. So I think in the future maybe it will be known to do something else.
Hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah. Okay. So this is where it starts from this room. The transformation.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe for Andy,
Mm.
maybe you can share what are the changes or the shifts from the leadership and also the culture of the organization to ensure that people embrace change. The organization actually are able to adapt in terms of the changes.
So in terms of the leadership, I think that covered earlier where our board actually led the charge, right? And then it trickled down to our C levels and the HODs at the working level. But it's not as smooth as it seems, right? Basically at the board level they said, you guys, I give you this amount of money, I top up another 10%, go and execute. Okay, that was end of last year. Then January this year, when they trickle down, then we have people like, oh no, you need to go through EAC, which we haven't set up yet. Then you need to go through a new committee called PMOC, Project National Oversight Committee, and then we realize suddenly there's so many hurdles that we need to go through, right? So we try to break down those hurdles. So the leadership portion is, we notice that if the C levels and the board levels are not aligned properly, it's going to change. It's going to, really not going to have a lot in terms of change and transformation for our level. So we want to see some kind of change over there. Cultural, in terms of culture, right? What we're trying to emulate, we're taking example of DBS Bank, right? They don't take so many.
Which bank?
DBS Bank.
Oh, DBS, okay.
Yeah, the old name is Development Bank of Singapore, right? So for them, when they went through, and the story is quite interesting how they transformed themselves, right? The president CEO at the time, I forgot the name of the Indian guy. Thank you, bro. He had a 4-hour private chat with Jack Ma. So he was asking Jack Ma, how the hell did you manage to onboard your customer digitally without going to branches? So he basically curi idea Jack Ma lah, right? So dia berguru dengan Jack Ma, menurun, got all this knowledge, present a management paper to the board. The board said, okay, now I'll give you 500 Sing dollar, your war chest, for you to play around. There's another 10% for you to really hire people to get, go crazy with it. And they have cultural transformation, right? In which they stick to 3 main points, which is red. R, reliable. E, easy to deal with. D, dependable. So everybody, hold on to these 3 things when they transform. Right? So they enforce a new cultural change rather than having so many points to remember. So it's quite easy, right? So that is something that we're trying to do right now as well. But we have 6 points now. We're trying to minimize with 3. What about you?
So I think for us, the leadership portion is really critical, because our leaders have been saying that we are successful. Why do we need to branch out? This is typical what we are. We are making money.
The tree, our crop still grows, right?
Our crop still grows. We are the biggest. Nobody can shackle us. Why do we actually need to worry? But the thing here is, 2 years, 3 years down the road, all of a sudden, like digital banks. Who would thought digital bank would exist? We could probably have a plantation company who's actually digital first.
Yes.
No. The question is, are you going to change when that happens? You will be a dollar? Of course not. So then we realize we have to take our leaders themselves for a journey to actually tell them, actually what you don't know, you don't know. Right? You can see disruptions across different industries. How disruption happens in our industry. So I think that's where taking leaders and as a very good example, GenAI. When we talk about GenAI, everybody talks about ChatGPT. But how GenAI can be used in as an example in the workplace, it's really powerful when the leaders themselves, experience it. So we try to actually, so we realize very quickly that if the leaders are not on board of the transformation, then the entire workforce who reports to them is also not. You won't get that traction for leaders. So I think that's why leadership is really critical, and sponsors, of course. Without their support, really, it's really difficult.
It's a good point that Kevin mentioned earlier, and there's one example where we first introduced GenAI, right? And our boss was doing his work,
Yeah.
selling the idea at the C level, and they were like, no, we can't really see, we're just mere mortals, not like you, a technocrat, right? So for me, Gen AI is Terminator. So that's the worst one. So I'm not quite famous in my own team because of that statement, right? But when our former chief strategy officer, our on division chief at the time, right? When we told him about this, and then we told him, boss, let's try, we want to introduce Copilot for the internal processes. So we let him use Copilot for a short while, right? And I think within the next 20 minutes, he said, I want you guys to start crafting the strategy to tackle chief internal audit, chief compliance, and chief risk, because they have a lot. See, he uses Copilot to summarize findings, right? Very simple, right? Very simple use case. He said, this used to take me 2 weeks, it can be done in less than 5 minutes. So really, that's why what he said is true.
Oh, that's very powerful. But very important is, this new technology or AI, it actually scares people. Okay? Even the consulting companies, they're saying that you don't need consultants anymore. So you get a lot of information from AI. So what's next? So they are saying that, you guys consultants are going to be out of job as well. So similarly in your organization, so you need to have a program. The change management program is very important, so that people are aware what's going to happen and that they are still around. Or there will be new things that will be happening and so on. Is there any questions from the floor? Maybe you can channel for others. Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay. We will just proceed. There's a lot of emerging technology that's coming up. Previously it was, IoT, all this big data, cloud, now AI, and God knows what in the future. Actually, how do you manage all these kind of tools and decide which one to adopt and so on?
This is interesting because I achieved something like an epiphany back in 2014 or 13, right? When I was at Malaysia Airports. And at that time, I remember my SGM, so my colleague, another manager, was the one responsible for the management report for the entire division. And he had to literally beg everyone, right? Can you give me your data, your report? I know you're busy, but please, what Faiza is asking, And it's a very manual and laborious process, right? And he needs to ensure that all this reports by Excel have to interconnect here and there. And at that time, I noticed that big data analytics was gaining momentum, and with Dato' Bat from MDEC, and he moved to Malaysia Airports as the group MD, right? So I managed to work with him to get some funding for POC on big data analytics in Malaysia Airports. So we got government money to do that. So cut story short, then I realized that for any digital transformation initiatives to really work, we need to build a strong foundation, and there are 3 main technologies: cloud, APIs, data analytics. Right? If you don't have all these, do not look into AI now. Right? Or don't do anything else. Right? Build this strong capabilities. Cloud, basically, we're talking about infrastructure. If you have an e-commerce project, whether it's B2B, B2C, or B2B2C, if you notice how Lazada manage it, everything's in the cloud, right? You have the auto scaling capabilities and whatnot. If you're on premise, it's going to be there, right? APIs are basically the definition, the way to integrate things nowadays, right? Gone are the days for security. Enough of that, right? And now to make things even more interesting with AI, you have to understand MCP, right? Multi-context protocol. That's for AI, and that's even more scary, right? Then last but not least, data analytics, right? If you don't really look into your data, you don't get the insights that you need to make informed decisions or even monetize your insights later. So for me, these 3 core foundational technologies are important for any organizations to step into digital transformation.
So I think for us, we try to, at least for the digital team, right? So we also have IT. Our IT is big. our digital team almost consists of, right now we have about 50 people right now. It's a sizable team. In fact, it allows us to very quickly, so what we do is we play with the technology right away. Right? We play with the technology first, and then immediately we try to gather tractions in the business. How quickly we can gather tractions. So we do this in iteration. So we try to move in agile. We try to be less waterfall, more agile, being a digital team. So this actually helps us. So example, even agentic AI right now, we have already. So we do adopt technologies quickly and then move forward. But you have to remember, you can't very quickly scale up. That's what we realize. Some departments might be more advanced from a data perspective. They have all the infrastructure in place, so it's much quicker. Other departments, they are much slower. So, but what we do is we try to adopt it as soon as possible.
Okay, excellent. I think very importantly mentioned, there are certain fundamentals that you need to have. Okay. When you talk about digitalization and also AI and so on, okay, data architecture is something very important, which was mentioned there. Okay. And also, we have to tell the business people, in order for you to transform, you need the resources, the unit or department, or we want to call it R&D or QA department or whatever, the innovation department is needed because you have things that you need to do. You need to have somebody to start thinking about the future. So these are some of the things that actually you need to consider when adopting of these technologies. Maybe to quickly wrap up, just share some of the biggest challenges that, a quick one, that you face in going through this transformation.
Okay, so I think for us it's simply the size of the company. I think the size of the company and the transformation, I think we started off small. Now I think we are very quick to realize that actually this is a sizable challenge that we have ahead of us. And we have a lot of people who have been in the company for long, right? So moving these people is really difficult. So we never thought culture would really be a big thing. Culture is now actually making the difference. So we are trying to get early adopters. You will always have early adopters and laggards. So we are trying to get the early adopters to actually, be the pathfinder, to actually show that this is how things can be done in digital, or this is how things can be done with transformation. These early adopters are the ones who are convincing the laggards to say, come along this journey. So I think every organization is different. I've worked in different organizations like Shell, Oil and Gas, Shell, Petronas, BP. But once you come to GLC like us, we realize the bigger the company is, the bigger your cultural challenges are. And I think that's really how we are looking at it at this point.
I agree with him, and he's actually aligning it from people's perspective, right? And that's also, I would say, the key element that we need to secure first. So 4 years ago, when we started to move to cloud, right? So a lot of my senior guys in the bank, some of them are retired recently. There are two things, right? At that moment in time, they said no banks will go to cloud, public cloud. Second, digital core banking system will never be on cloud. But Bank Islam managed to do just that. So I was, because I was being hired initially as a program manager to build a B2B e-marketplace for AgroBank. But when I asked IT, do you have the 3 foundational technologies? They said no. Wait for the IT blueprint in 3 years' time. So I said, I'm doomed. So what I did, I started to do the legwork, and I organized a study visit to, visit Bank Islam to ask them, can you share what you have done but not what you're planning to do? Right? Share with us how you move to cloud. So I got my very senior guys and my IT and whatnot. So when Bank Islam told them, now we have our second digital core running on AWS. Then we can see like all the senior guys, hey, maybe we should do it. Right? So you have to, get somebody else to talk to you on your behalf. Right? Not you, because they will say you are part of our team, so why should we trust you? Right?
I think that's very good tips. Instead of getting consultants all the time, okay, so be resourceful, know your industry, so that you know where things are happening, sometimes in local or even overseas. About people, very important for us to understand the landscape of our people. know our stakeholders, whether people are ready, you know what is their temperature and so on, so that you can address their concerns, okay, train them, keep them happy, and of course have a very successful transformation.